topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Benita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Welcome so much to the podcast. We are here today with a very special guest, and we are going to talk all about the 5 big lessons, the most important things, why you should even consider, but, maybe think about going vegan this year or something, starting that direction. So I have a special guest today, and as well, step back a little bit. We're going to be showing my hydroponic garden, which when I met Vicki, she was like, oh, you have a hydroponic garden. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But let me introduce you to her. She has, Vicki Woolman has been vegan since about October of 2011. And she is a PCRM certified Food for Life instructor. What is PCRM?
It's Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. It's a nonprofit organization formed by Neil Barnard, Dr. Neil Barnard.
Okay. And she's a graduate of the Ruby Cooking School's professional plant-based certification course. She's also educated herself along the way on all things vegan and plant-based and cruelty-free. So her goal is to help others learn vegan and plant-based options and resources so they may find their own unique path to a cruelty-free and satisfying diet. And what's interesting is I had found Dr. Barnard on YouTube podcasts. And so the reason that I found him was he was talking about this book. And it's come out fairly recent, maybe last year. And in it talked about these people that do cooking classes. I went to his website, thought, I wonder if there's anybody in St. George, Utah, where I am. Lo and behold, Vicki shows up, and I just introduced myself, and I said, hey, I would love to meet you. I've been learning about Dr. Barnard, and so it's because of this book and then going on his website and checking it out that I found Vicki. So welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anything more you want to say about your background and why? Let's basically start with anything you want to add and also why you went vegan.
Okay, so back many years ago, I thought it wasn't right that animals had to die so that we could eat. It didn't make sense to me. But, I'm 62 now, so there was no internet back then. There was very little resources that I could find. I didn't look online. I looked in the library. I looked at the bookstore. And everything turned up, it's the circle of life. You just have to eat animals and you need your protein and all of that. So one day, 13 years ago, a little over 13 years ago now, I was in a bookstore and I picked up a book. It was something like, I don't know, Vegetarian for Dummies or Idiot's Guide to Vegetarianism. And I picked it up and there's this little tiny paragraph that said, the vegan diet seems to be the most healthy diet you can be on. And I thought, that's it. I'm doing it. And then the next day, I went through my refrigerator, got rid of all the animal products, and it's literally the best thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Other than having my kids, it's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. I feel so much more vibrant and I feel really right with myself. I think that's probably the biggest part is nobody has to die so that I could eat. It's also really healthy. So, you know,
Cool.
yeah.
Before, I've got several questions I'm going to ask her. We're going to really delve into this. But first, I want to show you something that has become very important to me, and that is this hydroponic garden. Now, I don't know if you've heard of, there's a lot of different, I actually made one out of a bin, but this one is a tower garden. You can see down there, I could point my finger, there's a big container of like 20 gallons of water. There's a pump down there. You can see there's cage, there's lights, and I have it inside right now because I started it in November because I'm a snowbird, and so we're 6 months here and 6 months up north in Washington State. So I got this started in November, and it's just been cold enough that it was just not going to work outside. I'm going to be putting it out in my backyard probably next week. But right now, it's been great because I have a couple of kinds of kale. I've got the best Swiss chard. There's a great big tomato plant that is setting all kinds of tomatoes. There's actually cucumbers and watermelon kind of in the back. The peas, you can see stuff going up above. That's all peas that are going crazy up over the top. Spinach, green onions, chives. So I highly recommend looking into doing hydroponic gardening because when I want to make a salad, I just come over here to my hydroponic garden. And one of the things that when we were getting to know each other, I said something about my hydroponic garden. And Vicki goes, oh, I want to see your garden.
I was so excited.
She's not going to see it. And so then that led to, well, I'd love to have you be on the show and talk about what you found out, because health and wellness, besides all the financial things I do, I feel like if you don't have your health, you don't have any wealth, because that's the biggest thing, is to be able to enjoy your life because you are healthy. And so, all right. So so let's start here. I know that I have been struggling off and on to become more and more, I'm like more and more plant-based. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm trying to be on that road. What are some reasons, Vicki, that people say, oh, I can't go vegan, it's too hard, or whatever? What are the reasons that you hear?
So probably number one is I need my protein. I could never be vegan. I could be vegan because I could eat that way, but I need too much protein. My doctor wouldn't want to go vegan. Well, I can tell you that there's so much protein in a vegan diet. There are so many foods. I am not, suffering from lack of protein. I have not met one person.
You don't look like you're withering away.
No, I'm not withering away to nothing. It's a very healthy diet, but there is a lot of protein in even things you wouldn't expect, vegetables. Another thing is bacon. We all know. I know some of you are probably saying bacon. And cheese. Oh, cheese is a big one.
Yeah.
As far as bacon is concerned, I'm not a big fan of processed foods. Bacon's a processed food. So there's so many other things, but they do have some really good substitutes for these things. But after a while, it's a little too salty and you're not going to want it anyways. But there are, if you want to have a junk food diet, and bacon isn't healthy, right? You can find non-meat, vegan, truly vegan.
I've been researching that and finding, because I was listening actually to a Dr. Barnard podcast about going to the grocery store, and I was like, I'm going to go test that. And yeah, I'm finding stuff that I never even knew was there.
Yeah. I do want to say something about Dr. Barnard and PCRM really quick, is that this conversation we're having is between the two of us. I'm not representing PCRM in this podcast.
It's just information.
I'm certified to teach their plant-based cooking courses, and that's not what this is. So I just want to be clear on that. But yes, and there's also, you can take a block of super firm tofu, slice it really thin, marinate it, and there's recipes online, and bake it, and it can be crisp. You can make something crispy and salty and delicious. So trust me that it may not be exactly like bacon, but you're not killing an animal to eat, and you're not eating.
She's very passionate about this. I can tell you.
I am. And you're not eating all this saturated fat. I mean, it's healthier. And then cheese. So cheese, no matter which way you go, it's going to be high in fat. But there are really good vegan cheeses now. It's come a long way since 11 years ago. So there are different sections in the grocery aisle that you can find. There's in the frozen food aisle, there's usually a plant-based section. There's in the dairy aisle, you can find different things. I have one of my vices is my creamer, and it's hard to find now, but I like the Silk Original Soy creamer for my coffee. It's it's not the best. It tastes good. It's not the healthiest, but it's the one of the vices I do. But anyways, there's different sections in the grocery store where you'll see plant-based. You do have to read the labels though, because certain things like Coffee Mate and other things, they have either whey protein or casein, or those are all not vegan products, ingredients. So be careful. Labels are important.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about protein, because that, I think, is maybe the biggest area that there are misconceptions and misinformation out there. And basically it's like, if I don't have meat, I'm not going to get enough. And I think you would tend to disagree.
I do, because I'm getting enough and I'm not having meat. But there are a variety of different doctors out there. I brought a couple of books. Joel Furman is a really good one. And so is Dr. Greger.
Come this way.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of bring a couple. Sorry, I had to grab my books. Eat to Live. This is Dr. Joel Furman's book, and he talks a lot about that.
And let me interject. Yeah. I always do what we call a bonus download on the Ask Good Questions podcast.com website. There's a section there where you can go to bonus downloads. Everything for every episode that there's extra information or where to go find something is there. So there will be a flyer or a PDF about all of these resources that Vicki is talking about. So you'll be able to look those things up later.
Yeah. And you could find these folks online, but look up vegan protein, look it up online. This Dr. Joel Furman, and I buy some of his products on his website. He does not pay me to do this. He doesn't even know who I am, probably, although I did meet him once at a conference. But he's got great products. But this book is a really good one, Eat to Live, that goes over the benefits of eating a plant-based diet, and also gives you a plan. If you have health issues, especially, it's a great book. But people have different reasons for wanting to go plant-based. Some people it's for health, some it's for the animals. I happen to be both, and the environment. Okay, I'm all three. But there's all different reasons. So your diet is going to be different based on what your reason is. Yeah. So you have to decide yourself which way to go. But protein isn't a problem. There's so much out there. There's so much protein in a vegan diet.
So people go, okay, Vicki, you're making me want to look into this. How can they overcome these issues? What are some things like comparable vegan options, high quality plant-based protein choices, things like that?
I always say try to stick to the whole food if you can. If you're transitioning and you really like the taste of meat, there's plenty of good vegan meats out there until you're ready to venture out on your own and make things yourself. One of the things that I like to do is use lentils. I make lentil soup probably weekly. There's plenty of
Instant Pot is a great resource.
My Instant Pot is like gold to me. You just put the stuff in. I take whatever vegetables I have, put some kind of vegetable broth. Better Than Bouillon has a little jar with vegan chicken broth. So it tastes like chicken broth, but it's vegan. You just put it in there with hot water. You put some lentils in. I don't even measure. You cut up whatever vegetables you have, carrots, celery. And at the end, I always will put in greens.
Yeah.
I'll put those at the bottom of my bowl.
And if they're in your kitchen, all the better.
Oh, you're so lucky. I got to get one of those. But you can, I move this out of the way, but you can just put it all in there, turn the Instant Pot on, and in 30 minutes you have a homemade delicious soup with, all kinds of healthy nutrition in there.
Awesome.
Yeah. But there's also, you were asking about options. What was that your last question? Options at
Comparable
stores?
vegan options.
There's Indian food. You go to Trader Joe's, they have vegan frozen Indian food if you don't feel like cooking, or you can make it yourself. Look it up online. There's all kinds of great recipes. Tofu again. There's a lot of controversy about tofu. Some people think it's great. Some people think it's, it's got estrogen elements, but the research I've done and the information I've looked at nutritionfacts.org, which is Dr. Greger, Michael Greger, he's great. All these guys that I follow, these doctors that are well-known and Esselstyn, tofu is it's a protective, from what I understand, it's protective against cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the research you do will show something different. So you just got to weigh and measure what you see out there. But it's doing good by me.
Well, let's talk about the grocery store.
Okay.
So one of the first things that I learned, I don't know, several years ago was just stay in the perimeter. Stay where the fruits and the vegetables are. Not the morgue, which is the meat counter. And most of your processed foods are probably going to be on the interior of the grocery store. So
It's true.
A little bit more about that.
It's true. I mean, the best aisle to stay in is the produce aisle. There are some good processed. I like Kite Hill. It's one of my favorite processed dairy items because the ingredients are pretty clean. I don't like added oil in most of my foods that I eat. It's going to be there in some of the processed foods. But so as far as the dairy aisle is concerned, it's still processed on the vegan side. But yeah, the produce aisle, you can even try things you've never tried before and go, oh, these taste pretty good. Purple potatoes. Have you heard about that?
I just had purple potatoes for the first time, and it was because it was in a recipe that I was trying, and I was like, purple potatoes.
Yeah.
I had never heard of one before.
And they taste great.
And there they were.
Did you find that they tasted significantly different than regular potatoes?
No.
And they're supposed to be, I'm not a nutritionist, but look it up. They're supposedly better on the glycemic index. So purple potatoes, something you may not have tried.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of fun stuff in the produce aisle, and it's all in the way you prepare them. And I brought a couple of cookbooks, but look online, you'll find all kinds of options.
Well, let's talk about some of those ingredients that people might know about. Let's start with nutritional yeast.
Oh yeah, I brought it, didn't I?
Yes,
I brought a couple of things. So nutritional yeast. So one of the things when you start a vegan diet, someone might say to you, like I'm going to, this adds a little cheesy flavor to your vegetables or to whatever you're making. Some people like it on popcorn. Don't expect cheese. It's not cheese.
I've already run into this.
Yeah,
because my husband, who's tolerating this, he said, "Well, I thought this was supposed to taste like cheese."
It sets you up.
Yeah,
I think it sets you up to thinking that it's going to be like cheese, so you won't like it. Right. But if you don't have expectations and you're trying something new, you're like, oh, this adds a nice little something to the food. Anyways, this is loaded with B vitamins. It has protein, 5 grams of protein for 2 tablespoons. My 32-year-old son sprinkles it on everything, and he loves it, and he's not vegan. He just loves this stuff. So it's a really good, healthy ingredient that you should consider when you transition to a plant-based diet. There's no fat in it either. So it's a good one, really good one. Here's another interesting one. It's called black salt.
I had never heard of this.
Kala namak. I hope I say it right. The real name is Kala namak.
Kala namak.
Kalanamak, 2 separate words. It's pink. It's not black. But if you crumble up your tofu and instead of using regular salt, put this on there, it gives it an eggy flavor. I add a little turmeric, garlic salt, veggies. I add veggies to everything. And, onions, mushrooms, yum. You can make like a really good tofu scramble and it'll taste similar, even though don't expect eggs. Like I said, don't expect cheese, don't expect eggs. Yeah.
Okay, what else? I can see some other things over here on the table.
So I brought some dates. I brought some things for travel.
Okay, we're going to do travel in just a minute. What about the dates there?
So the dates, this is fun. Dried fruit, again, some people don't want to have dried fruit because of the concentration of sugar, but there's no added sugar to these. You could do this, trust me, it works. Take a date, cut it open, remove the pit, if there's a pit, of course. Put either almond butter or peanut butter inside, stick an almond in the middle, put it in your freezer. If you want to, drizzle a little chocolate on top. And I'm not kidding you, it's like a Snickers bar. I mean, it's not a Snickers bar. Don't expect a Snickers bar, but you'll be pleasantly surprised to see. And the good thing about Whole Foods, too, is that they're not as addicting. And really quick, The Pleasure Trap. This is one of my favorite books by Douglas Lyle and Alan Goldhamer. It talks about sugar, salt, and fat combined in processed foods. They create an addictive quality. I used to have a terrible overeating problem when I was younger, and terrible. And I thought it was me. I thought I had no willpower. I thought, it was me. And the truth is, it's the food. It's definitely the food. And the companies that make processed foods, chips, cookies, crackers, whatever, no matter what if you look on the label and you will most likely see sugar, salt, and fat.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe you can't stop eating it. Why you buy another box and another box or whatever. Some people don't react that way.
Eat just one.
Exactly.
What is that? Lay's potato chips or one of the potato chips? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you can't eat just one.
Yeah. It's really horrible. And that's why we have such a big problem in this country.
Yeah.
Mostly in this country, but maybe in the world.
Yeah. The most recent data was that at least one third of the population of the United States is obese, which is crazy. So I know that the government officials that have just been tasked with helping us live healthier are going to be talking. You're going to be hearing more about making healthier food choices, right? So let's see. We hope so. So let's talk about travel.
Okay.
Probably that's one of my biggest bugaboos that is so hard. I'm betting it's going to have to do with pre-planning.
It does, but it's not difficult.
Okay. All right.
My favorite, which I do buy from Dr. Furman. Did I already read this? Or was that before?
No, no. Not ready yet.
We were having a chat earlier, and I'm going to have you try this too.
Okay. I'm excited to try.
I keep these in my purse because I travel a lot for work. I always have. And it's really difficult when you're on the go or when you're driving or on a plane to have something healthy to eat. So these are called G-bombs. I'll just kind of hold it up a little closer. Dr. Furman, this is a chocolate peanut butter one. This is my favorite. You will not believe these ingredients. My adult son, I brought them when I went to visit him, and he's like, those are so good, and I don't feel like eating more. He's like, I can't believe there's no added sugar. There's no added sugar in this. They're made with dates. Organic peanuts, Dr. Furman's G-Bomb blend, which is organic dates, organic spinach, organic kale, organic
Let's talk
black
about
beans,
what's the G-Bomb?
onions.
It stands for something.
It does, and you'll read it in the Eat to Live book if you get that. Greens. Let's hope I get this all in my head. Greens, beans, onions, GBO, mushrooms, and then berries, and the G-bomb.
I think it's just G-bomb.
No, there's an S.
Is there an S?
I'm going to forget what it is, but you can read the book and you'll find it out.
If she thinks about it.
But I want you to try this, seriously. There's chocolate chips in here. Got a little melty, sorry.
You want me to just take a bite?
You could just take it, yeah. I mean, they taste really good.
No, it's very creamy.
Do you taste spinach?
No,
No,
this is really good.
So this is something I do buy online.
Do I get to keep this?
You get to, yes,
Oh,
it's
boy.
yours. Isn't it good?
Mm-hmm.
So I keep those in my
That's
purse. I keep them in my purse, and once I eat it, sometimes it's my breakfast, because I'm not a big breakfast eater, but it holds me over.
That
and
is
it's
probably one of the better.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
And then this is another Furman thing. And the reason I like Furman's products is because they don't have added oil or sugar. I can't say I've liked everything I've ordered, but I do like these. These are kale chips. So those of you who like potato chips but are trying to get rid of all that oil and junk, this just has organic kale, water, raw cashews, unfortified nutritional yeast, which we just talked about, onions, it's all organic, apple cider vinegar, and garlic powder. That's what's in here. So these are nice chips. They're really good. Do you want to try it, or are you too chocolatey?
I'm chocolatey.
Okay, but these are really good. He has them in different flavors. It's worth a try. Buying kale chips at the grocery store, a lot of them have tons of oil, but you might be able to find something like this. I just haven't.
Right.
So, and then these kind of things. These are Dr. McDougall's. These two are. May he rest in peace. He passed away.
Yeah, he passed away
year.
recently.
But these are, I take these on planes. They're, sorry, am I doing this right? This is a split pea soup. It's got a little packet inside of seasoning. So if you don't want as much salt, you can control it, which is really nice. I don't know why this one has sugar in it, but it does. So beware. Look at labels. Labels are, when you do a vegan diet, labels are so important. Some items have things like casein and whey protein and those kinds of things. Those are not vegan, like protein drinks and stuff. So do your homework. But these are really good. This is 250 calories, 1 gram of fat, 16 grams of protein.
Wow.
So
you're going to get your protein.
I take these on planes. I ask the flight attendant to add some hot water.
Yeah.
And there you go. I did find this at Walmart. It doesn't say vegan. It says plant-based, but the ingredients look good. But there's all kinds of things now that you can buy that are tasty and vegan and don't kill animals. So those are some ideas that bring produce too. Bring some grapes, bring some blueberries if you can. Some things aren't as,
I brought some blueberries on the plane once, and they got all squished.
Yeah, blueberries are hard. Grapes are better.
Grapes are better.
Apples. Trader
apples.
Joe's, we don't have one here in St. George, but Trader Joe's has sliced apples that have some kind of, I don't know if it's lemon juice or whatever, that, they have a bag. You can just take the whole thing with you and eat. So it's a lot of apples to eat, though, when, you don't want to eat all of that. But nuts are such great options, too. And cashews, you can make good sauces if you have a Vitamix or one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about, let's see, I'm thinking about some other food ingredients like, we don't have one to show, but liquid aminos, if you've ever heard of that. What is that?
It's kind of like soy sauce. I believe it's gluten-free for people who have gluten-free, but do your own research. I know I keep saying that. Don't trust me on that. Do it yourself. But it comes in a spray, and you could just spray it on your food too, which is kind of nice. It's similar to soy sauce. Cool. It tastes like soy sauce.
And egg replacements.
Egg replacement.
You had a good idea for egg replacements that I've never heard.
Yeah. So if you're going to bake something, and I'll give you an example. I love Trader Joe's, even though we don't have them here. Every time I go to LA or Vegas or whatever, I go to Trader Joe's. They have a cornbread mix. Again, it's not the healthiest thing. There's all kinds of ingredients in there, but you can smash up a banana and it gives you that coagulated texture of an egg. I think it's half a banana, but look it up, half a banana to 1 egg. There's also a way to make egg. You could use applesauce. You could use flaxseed with water. There is an egg replacer product. It's a powder that you can add to water and stir it up. It is a processed food, but there's all kinds of options. If you go into Google, Google's my friend. I just love it. If you go into Google,
Dr. Google.
if you go into Google and just put in, vegan egg replacer, you'll get all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So the title of this podcast is the 5 reasons why you should go vegan this year. So let's start going through those reasons. What would be the top reason that you should consider this?
So everybody is different. And for me, it's the animals. Okay. So,
and there's some documentaries out there.
Yeah.
That might convince you. I mean, about, cattle, about fish, about the, I have loved to go out on deep sea, like fishing boats off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. That's an education, because you've got fish that are released, that have been in hatcheries, that are then released into the ocean, and then they come back. And but yeah, I have noticed that fish, like the fish that I see in the meat counter
are colored.
It says color added, and I'm like, oh man, that's awful. Anyway, go for it.
This is one of my favorite books of all time. It's called The World Peace Diet by Will Tuttle. It's not a diet per se. It's not going to tell you, how to cook something. I actually met him after I read the book, and he signed my book, but Will Tuttle. But he goes over so eloquently and beautifully why a vegan diet is so important. There are some disturbing things in here. I'm not going to lie. I mean, obviously, when you're killing animals, when it has to do with how animals are treated, animal cruelty, but the way he writes is so beautiful and so eloquent. I highly recommend this book. So that's my number one is the cruelty and the murder of the animals. My number 2, of course, is going to be health. I am a cancer survivor, 17 years. And to top it off, it was ovarian cancer, which
I'm usually going to ask you what kind.
Usually people catch it late. And I was super fortunate. No evidence. I'm clean. But wow, that's another reason why a vegan diet, for me, why I think it's so important. I believe that eating meat and dairy and animal products, and even wearing animal products, I don't think it's good for our health. Just intuitively, I feel that way. But I also know that there are facts and information out there that suggests that a vegan diet is a very healthy way to go.
Like I'm thinking of, what can people go look at? I'm thinking of the show called Forks Over Knives.
That's right. I brought the cookbook.
Okay.
She didn't know.
I didn't know. I seriously did not know.
This is one of my favorite cookbooks too, Forks Over Knives. But there is a movie, and they talk about that a lot. There's all kinds of movies out there now that I just can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
But there's lots of documentaries.
I think that there's a lot more awareness. Don't you think that there's a lot more awareness? It just seems to be popping up, and everything that's happening recently just seems like we're going in that direction to be healthier.
Yeah.
So
when I went vegan 13 years ago, people thought I was crazy. Like, what are you
what's
doing?
The matter with
and
you,
I go to restaurants and be like, what's that?
Yeah.
What do you mean vegan? And it was really
now
it's easier.
Yeah.
Not here so much.
Yeah.
Although it's getting better.
So that was the whole thing with animal cruelty is number 1. Number 2 is health. Number 3.
Well, and also I guess number 3 could be longevity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy, I wish I could remember his name. you may know, he's online, or he has a documentary about centenarians, people who live past 100. And
there's a website that you can actually go to that if you go past 100, you can be on that. Yeah. And there's more and more people that are older than 100. And then there are like hotspots around the world where people that are living long lives are being studied.
Seventh-day Adventists.
Yes.
And I think it's
yes,
Glendale? Not Glendale. It's in California now.
Yeah, there's a California town. Trying to remember what it is. Anyway, but yes.
Anyways.
Longevity.
Yeah, longevity. People think that a vegan diet is expensive. If you're going to buy the processed foods, it's probably just as expensive as maybe a little more. But if you buy lentils, I think these were less than $2.
Yeah.
It depends on what you buy. You buy produce, it's
if you're not buying meats
and cheese compared to meat and cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think it's budget friendly. That's another reason people give me, being vegan is expensive. My grocery bill is not high. Trust me.
Right.
And yours probably isn't either.
Well, no, I mean, if I'm just walking over to the corner to get some greens.
Yeah.
And it's about as fresh as it can be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was animal cruelty, health, longevity,
budget. There's so many reasons, but I feel like it brings me peace. I feel right with myself. The environment. That really should be on the list. But I feel like it brings me peace. I feel like when I first went vegan, it was for the animals, but then I learned so much more. The World Peace Diet, that book will help you.
Speaking about, I mean, don't you think that like having this thing in the corner is environmentally good for the interior of this home?
I would think so. Oxygen?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Right?
Hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah. Yeah. So the environment, but also I gave you 6 reasons. Feeling right with yourself. I really think that there's something that I feel like I glow inside more than I ever did before, because I feel like I made
just feeling good.
I feel like I made a good decision, and I can feel it all the way to my core.
Right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about restaurants. If you're going out to eat, what's the biggest thing you think that people should do?
Well, I always like to research the restaurant ahead of time.
Yeah.
My poor friends. They always ask me, where should we eat? Or, hey, Vicki, let's go here. They have a vegan option. And I'm not a big burger eater.
But can't you make any? You can.
Yes. If they have lettuce, if they have beans, but oftentimes there's something on the menu, like some kind of bowl. I always like it when they have a bowl, like with vegetables and rice, brown rice preferably. But call ahead. Sometimes they, and I have to say, restaurants lose my business and my friend's business when I call and they're like, oh, we have nothing. And I look on their menu and I see they have stuff.
Sure.
They just need to know how to put it together. I think it's getting better, but I think it's still tough. So call ahead of time, look at the menu online. Sometimes there's already a vegan, it's labeled vegan, and so you don't have to call. But look and see what their sides are. Is there something you can have? But I do want to say, one of the best meals I ever had was at a restaurant where there was no vegan options. But the chef, it was a nice restaurant. The chef cooked something up for me. I think it was polenta, and he did something with it that was out of this world. Out here, there's a restaurant, I hope they still have it, called Painted Pony. They have a beet ravioli. They don't even put it on their menu. I have to ask, because they don't want to sell out. So when the vegans come in, they can't have anything to eat. But they really, and every time I went there, I have a book club, we would meet there. And every time I would ask them, have you guys come up with another option for me? Because all I would be able to get was a salad and modify it. Don't put the cheese on or the whatever. And they were either listening to me or somebody else, but they came up with a really good option. So,
well, we're going to have to wrap up now, but if someone was saying, you've overwhelmed me today, so much information, but what would be the one thing? Where would somebody start? Would it one of these books? Would there be one of the books that would be the best thing to start with? So it sounded like, I think it was this one.
So Dr. Neil Barnard came out with this book, The Vegan Starter Kit. I think you can go online and find information too, but it's a hard thing to do in the beginning because you don't know what you're doing.
And if the whole family's not doing it,
it's really hard.
That's something I'm dealing with. I've got a meat and potatoes husband.
Yeah.
But he's coming around, but it's slow.
The other thing you could do, you're going to put my contact information on. And I don't mind answering questions. I don't do this for a living. It's a passion of mine. Maybe one day I'll decide to, but right now I'd rather just make it a passion. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or, possibly provide some kind of support with ideas, restaurants, recipe books, recipes, what have you. Feel free to reach out to me. Can I say what my email address is?
Yeah.
It's veganvic, VEGANVICK,
which is easy,
at yahoo.com. Feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to respond.
And the other thing I'll mention is, because I'm sitting here looking at my tower garden in the background there, I found somebody who does a lot of training of all the little things that help you have a successful hydroponic garden. I'm going to have him on as a guest in the not too distant future. So be looking for that episode. That'll be fun to do. So our time is up. Can you believe it?
I was worried we wouldn't have enough time.
My goodness.
Not have enough to talk about.
It went so fast. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that we helped you ask good questions about how to live a healthier life and have that vegan lifestyle get started in your life. Thanks so much for joining us.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Benita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.